Webb.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's Seniors Living Well. Thanks for taking some time on your busy Wednesday before Thanksgiving to join us for the show. We have a lot, kind of a buffet of resources that we're going to be talking about today. Some important information for you to consider over the holidays, and of course, one very inspiring senior that I'll be interviewing later in the show. But my good fortune this morning, someone who's a very busy person but is willing to give up this morning to come talk to us. Gwen, thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
How's things going with the business across the street?
Well, I've opened the Estate Planning Law Center here on Main Street, Jackson, and it's actually almost 2 years now that we've been on Main Street.
I feel like it just happened that you moved in.
So we had a great opportunity to renovate an old building here in town. And I've been here in Jackson for over 10 years now, but we decided to move to Main Street. And so when I moved to Main Street, I opened the Law Center. And so I've been setting it up to offer seminars. And we're starting again January 2014. And the third Friday of every month, we have a free seminar at 11:30.
That's great. That's a wonderful service because you know better than I do how important it is for people to consider doing their estate planning. And one of the reasons we were really happy that you could come today is that a lot of families will be getting together over the holidays, and that's a good time to start that conversation, don't you think? When people are together, they don't want to talk about it, and you don't want to spend the whole Thanksgiving doing it, but it's time to sort of have a plan.
Well, and it's that reminder when you're sitting around the table and looking at your loved ones and thinking about what's going to happen to my children in case something happens to me, what's going to happen to my estate if something happens to me, and we really want to protect them, and we want to protect ourselves. One of my main objectives is to make sure people have the resources they need, and I'm finding that if they don't have the information, they can't make good decisions.
Right.
And so it's just reminding people why they need estate planning. And things do get complicated, as you know, but there's also a lot of basics that they can cover. One of my reminders is just thinking about who will take care of your financial affairs if you become incapacitated. And so people are familiar with a power of attorney document. It's a very easy document. They do have to think of someone who they can name to take care of things for them. And what happens is people put it off. And if you don't have that document in place, then the family has to hire someone like me to go to court to obtain a conservatorship. And it's very costly, it's very time-consuming, and then you're within the court structure where you have to report on an annual basis. And so that all can be avoided by just one simple document. And people don't like to think about it, but unfortunately there are times if you become incapacitated and either your spouse or your children are taking care of you, we need to know who that person might be.
Yeah, which person? Is it going to be one of your kids or your spouse? You do a lot of estate planning procedures. I guess I'm trying to think of the word. So, like the power of attorney is one document, but when you sit down with someone new, my sense is that you kind of go over the whole gamut of what needs to be covered in doing long-term planning, because there's a few other things that need to be considered too.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because what happens with estate planning, people will think, oh, well, I've got it covered, I've got a will. Or I've got it covered, I've got a healthcare directive. And what happens is I offer a 30-minute consult for people to come in, and a lot of times we can go through their binder or go through their box or whatever it is that they have. Sometimes they have nothing. And so I go through with them and make sure if they do have documents in place, they say what they want them to say. And then I also make sure they have all those pieces of the puzzle. Because the first thing we've talked about already is the power of attorney document because you could become incapacitated. Well, that document just covers finances. So there's another piece of the puzzle, which is a healthcare directive. And I have found, especially here in Amador, even Sutter Hospital will make sure if you have to go in for surgery, they make sure you have a healthcare directive. But other than that, if you don't think about it, there's no document in place. And the healthcare directive is similar to the power of attorney. It's only triggered if you become incapacitated, but you must name someone to make those healthcare decisions for you.
You know, I do home health nursing on the weekend, and when we start a new patient, we always ask them that question: do you have a healthcare directive or a durable power of attorney for healthcare? And it just kills me how many people say, oh, my husband or my wife knows what I want, I don't need. I mean, people need to know. They need it in writing.
Well, and the good news with the directive is you can be as specific as you want to be. There are some people who want to go through and plan for every possible scenario, and then there's other people who just want the basics. And the basic decision is just who. If you don't have that healthcare directive in place, that's another opportunity for conservatorship, because the conservatorship is appointed for the estate, which is finances, or for the person, which is health matters. So again, you can avoid that procedure if you have those in place.
Like a dollar spent is $100 saved by, being proactive and coming to see you or someone like you to get all this in place.
Well, and I do want to tell your viewers to just look in the paper next year, because I will be writing a number of articles for the paper.
Great.
And then just following them up with that free seminar so they can ask questions. Because people, even if they have a will, a lot of times when they have something in writing, it's not updated. Sometimes the children they've named a guardian for now have children of their own.
That would be me.
And then we're also just looking at right now the cost of probate in California. Right now, just to file a will in Amador costs $435.
Wow.
To publish the legal notice is over $700. And then that executor does not get their official paperwork for 30 days. And so a lot of people in a lot of estates I'm working with right now, they could have avoided that by planning ahead. Even I have one right now in Calaveras where it's just a mobile home, but we still have to go through a court procedure to make sure that the son and daughter can have access to everything. And so it's just asking questions and making sure that not making any assumptions. And I have found when I sit people down and slowly go through the steps with them, they realize it's not as difficult as they thought it would be. And one problem with not having something in writing, and where I see the complexities, are when you do have a blended family, when you have his and hers children or our children. And what happens is, if you want to provide for your stepchildren, California law won't provide for them. So you need to put that in writing. If you have not adopted them, and I have clients who they treat their stepchildren as their own children.
They've forgotten that they're actually stepchildren.
But the courts don't see it that way.
That's interesting.
And when you're thinking about who's taking care of affairs for you, it might be a stepchild. It might not be your children at all. And so those are the types of circumstances where we want to make sure something's in writing. Also, when there's no children at all, we have to, your parents might be too old, and you might not want your siblings involved.
Right.
So it's it's making sure that you take care of that in writing.
And we're seeing more and more. At least I can name 4 or 5 of my friends who have no children. I mean, baby boomers who have no children. And they're like, well, I'm married. Yeah, well, what if something happens to him before you? So everybody needs to think about this.
Well, and some of those people who are proudly saying, well, I've got that covered, a few things I want them to think about is we look at the whole picture. Do you have insurance? Have you prepaid funeral? Have you organized those important documents? A lot of times when I've been on your show before, we've talked about, let's shred some of those old bank statements from before 2000.
Right.
Anything you can do to help your family with that transition. So if you can't get into a room, or if you can't get through the garage, or you just have too much stuff, those are some things to think about also that will help.
Right. And I think you brought a book to one of our earlier interviews that you recommended for people, and I'm assuming that you probably are still recommending that in your seminars.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the seminars that's one of the topics we talk about is what else can you do in addition to those documents we talked about today.
That's great. And what else are you doing?
Well, one thing I'm doing right now, if people seen it in the paper, the food bank needs 2,000 turkeys before December. And so we've run this ad in the Ledger Dispatch, Let's Talk Turkey, and so far we've donated 32 turkeys to the food bank, and we'll be doing that for any new client or returning client until the end of the year.
So if you can't read this ad, look for it in the Ledger Dispatch. But it's essentially if someone comes in and does the consult with you and becomes a client to have you help plan, or if one of your clients, and you have a lot of them, I think, come
back and
to
make
do
a
the
change.
update, then they'll get a turkey.
Yep.
I mean, you'll get
I'll donate a turkey.
They'll get a good deal and feel reassured, and the food bank will get a turkey. So that's wonderful. And we need turkeys for Christmas as well as Thanksgiving too. So again, you want to give your phone number so that people know to call you?
Yes, I'm here on Main Street, Jackson. We've got a great website. It's just theestateplanningLawCenter.com, and our phone number is 223-7625.
223-7625. So don't forget that phone number. Look for the free seminars. Come in and talk to Gwen and update whatever you have with her, and a turkey will go to the food bank, or become a new client of hers, and a turkey will come to the food bank, and you won't feel like such a turkey when you die. Stay tuned. We're going to go to break, and I'm going to come back and talk with Tanya Kraft from Lifeline.
Today's Seniors Living Well is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Amador County Board of Supervisors. Chairman of the Board, District 2 Supervisor Richard Forrester, serving the areas of Amador City, Ione, and Comanche. District 3 Supervisor Ted Novelli, serving the eastern areas of the Upcountry. District 1 Supervisor John Plasse, serving the Jackson area. District 4 Supervisor Louis Boitano, serving areas of Sutter Creek and Pine Grove. And District 5 Supervisor Brian Onetto, serving Plymouth and the north area of western Amador County. To reach your supervisor, call 223-6470 or go to www.co.amador.ca.us.